This one felt really huge for us when we were looking at the data because recurring donations are becoming like a more and more popular subject as well. 64% of auction donors expressed interest in becoming recurring donors. So that's huge. So monthly donors, they're saying they're willing to do it. They just have to have that cultivation. They need those relationships built. So thinking about kind of a shift in the way we look at auctions, they're not just a way to raise funds on the night of an event. They're this touch point in cultivating these long-term relationships.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. We got some cool stuff to uncover. So Sarah, Sebastian, Karrie, Wozniak, thank you so much for coming. The two kind ladies from OneCause. So appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, I want to definitely get into the giving experience study, but tell us what you all do at OneCause and all that, if you don't mind. Introduce yourselves.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. I'm Sarah Sebastian. I'm the Director of Corporate Communications. I head up the research studies here at OneCause, first and foremost. And there's a lot that I do, but one of my other favorite roles is co-chair of the RAISE programming committee. And we are just about to start our review process for this year's speakers. So we're really excited about that. Over 200 submissions for this year's RAISE fundraising conference. So if you're out there listening, go check it out.
That's awesome.
And Trevor, I'm Karrie Wozniak, Chief Marketing Officer for OneCause. Just thrilled to be here. And I've been working with nonprofits for the last 16 years. And alongside Sarah and her experience in nonprofit fundraising over, I don't know, it's probably been a decade for Sarah.
About a decade.
So we're the Giving Experience research study and the RAISE conference and the programming. We work tightly together on all those things. So thrilled to be here.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for coming. You all have been at your organization for a minute. I noticed that no one leaves OneCause. So a lot of folks in our world are always talking about like, how do I not get burnt out? How do I this? And I see a lot of turnover and like, oh my gosh, we're overworked. But speak to culture, because I don't know what's going on with y'all. We have our own company and there's 20 of us and we started as a family business. And it's amazing to have people stay and it's amazing to grow things with folks. But there's something going on with your culture. And I want you to maybe just give us like a little perspective on why it means so much to you and why none of y'all leave.
One of the things I think I noticed as soon as I came here is like a lot of the leadership, especially Karrie, like they've been here forever, like since the launch of mobile bidding, in 2008 or so, and they have not left.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen that entire just evolution. But since I've been here, I've been able to see the dedication of those leaders and the supportiveness. And this may be like oversharing or TMI, but I'm not shy about sharing it anymore. I was diagnosed as autistic a few years ago. And that came with a whole bunch of just self-learning and discovery about my work style, like how I prioritize. And I think part of the reason people stay at OneCause is that level of supportiveness. Like I've never experienced that somewhere. It's like, okay, this work style isn't working for you. What will work for you? And having someone there to understand and kind of support me along that journey without any kind of judgment. So that's my very personal take on that, but I know that other people feel that too.
Yeah, I think that's great, Sarah. Yeah. I mean, for me personally, Trevor, being very early on when it was just a few of us, it is very family centric in the early days, but it still feels that way today. When we're working through, growing and inspiring and trying to build products that are innovative and new and things that are at the forefront of the giving experience that we're going to talk about today and making sure that we're staying ahead of it. It's the innovation, but it really is the people. And so I think a lot of people, you stay because you really do truly love doing good in the world and building better tomorrows and helping nonprofits.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's with one another and who you're working with day to day. Everyone has core values, right, in their business. Oh, there's our core values. We don't put them up on a wall. We want everyone to feel them. And, the passion or the helpfulness or the commitment to the nonprofit or doing a good job or the curiosity, we're always trying to strive to be that for each other. And in some of our interactions, Sarah or I will say, I'm trying to be passionate right now.
Yes.
I'm really committed, or I'm curious about this because we need to change that. And I think that people do embrace them.
They do.
And it really grounds everyone. I've been here, but it's been a ride. Every year is a different year, and trying to grow the business and help nonprofits is something that we all want to do and do it really well together.
That underlying passion, I think, is really kind of hitting the nail on the head. And you said we don't keep it on the wall, but I hear it. I hear our values more at this company than anywhere else I've worked in conversations every day. And that doesn't happen a lot at other places.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not a business building pod or anything like that. Right. But it is a topic, that comes up a lot, about the culture at organizations, whether it's, for-profit, nonprofit, doesn't really matter actually. Right. And I just, like I said, I wanted to ask you all about that because, and I'll have an opportunity to ask Steve that too when he comes on. But, it's interesting to witness because I got to know your organization over the years, and I was like, people don't leave. So there's something going on there. There's something in the water, and there's something good. And it's a very noble endeavor to build something. We're building something. You all have been building something for a lot longer than us. And it's challenging. It doesn't come without its perils, but it's something to behold, and I think it should be celebrated. So sorry to get all sentimental on you. Right?
No, that's okay.
But
we do that. Yeah.
I gotta be honest. Yeah, we've noticed. So it's really, really cool. So I appreciate you both sharing. Thank you so much. But, well, tell us about the origin with this giving experience study. I mean, y'all are in the tech space, so there's going to be data and all this great stuff that we should be pulling from all these events. As a matter of fact, we're always nudging organizations. Are you using software? Okay, you need to be, because it's going to add to the bottom line right away, right? Mm-hmm. And we're fundraisers. But talk to us about the giving experience study, the origin story a little bit.
Okay. So Trevor, I'll just share a little bit about the giving experience. This is now our 5th year. So we started the giving experience back in 2018. And the idea of the giving experience was to truly understand what social donors were doing in the space or how they were behaving. And we wanted to create an invaluable resource for nonprofits to be able to understand who those donors were. And so when we first launched it, it was just kind of evolving and capturing the shifts in giving from, giving on paper or through a direct mail piece to this shift in social donors and their giving behavior online or at an event or a part of a campaign. And so what we saw back in 2021, after the pandemic, what we saw is that the whole giving landscape completely changed. And we all know that, the pandemic pivot and everything. Yeah. What we saw last year, to talk specifically about the study that was launched in the fall, was that we saw that this big return to in-person and this big return to being with one another again. And yes, it happened in 2020, 2023, but it really happened in a big way in 2024 in the first half of the year. And it's just showing us that behavior. But also what's so cool about this study is watching that influence of Gen Z in the space and seeing them change and evolve and start to give. It's pretty cool. And then one of the important parts of the underlying piece of this study is this isn't a study that OneCause does per se. We collaborate and work with a research firm called Edge Research. Okay. And they've worked with organizations like HRC, Meals on Wheels, other tech companies they've worked with as well. But the idea is that we know that the respondents to this survey, it's representative of US population. So whether it's age, race, the region that you live in or your income, it's incorporating all of that.
Yep. Big sample size.
Yeah. They do the hard work for us. And so we heard from over 1,036 donors from this study. And so we feel pretty confident in that it's capturing a really good piece of the pie to really get a good understanding of giving today.
Love it. I love it. And I want to hear your thoughts too, Sarah. I love what you said about, the in-person and auction participants are very loyal donors. And I love seeing that because that's the world that we're in. So like whether that's at an auction or what have you, or just relationship building in general, or just the shareability of what a mission is doing. Sarah, give us your thoughts, but maybe double click on one of those as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I think I would like to actually start with the auction one just because it is fascinating.
I love it.
So we did ask some questions around auctions for the first time, and our data, like you said, it just underscores how loyal these donors are and that it's such a really valuable segment for nonprofits. These folks are not just attending the event for the event itself. They're engaged. They're committed to these causes.
They're part of the community.
It's a community, and we're hearing that word more and more and more over the past few years for reasons.
Yeah.
58% of those auction goers said that they're very likely to make a one-time donation in the 12 months following an auction. So they're going to give again. They said that they would, almost 60% of them. And they also show a real willingness to kind of deepen their support. 83% of them said they would become annual donors. So we're going to come back year after year. And then this one felt really huge for us when we were looking at the data, because recurring donations are becoming like a more and more popular subject as well. People are looking for those sustainable ways to maintain their revenue, right? They're giving. 64% of auction donors expressed interest in becoming recurring donors. So that's huge. So monthly donors, they're saying they're willing to do it. They just have to have that cultivation. They need those relationships built. So thinking about kind of a shift in the way we look at auctions, they're not just a way to raise funds on the night of an event. They're this touch point in cultivating these long-term relationships, right? Yeah.
Celebrate the mission, celebrate the work that you're done, highlight the work that you're doing right now and the work that you're going to do. How do you get everyone in the room at the same time? It's pretty remarkable how you could do that. It's amazing. I love the data. That's great. That's really encouraging, as a matter of fact. So
and then we also saw that they're incredibly generous. So the average gift amount from these donors.
Yeah.
Any guesses? And Karrie, you know what the number is, right?
$1,000.
1,000? That was way high. I'm surprised.
I'm an ambitious fundraiser. No, please go ahead.
Karrie, I'm going to pass it off to you because I know you love this number.
What was the question, Sarah? I missed it because I had to go off camera for a hot second.
I'm sorry. The average gift amount for auction donors. The big number that we love.
It was close to $600. I don't remember it right off the top of my head.
Yep. Yeah. 529. So they're ready to give when they see value and the impact that you're offering.
Yeah.
So
I think that's massive. I heard something that it didn't upset me, but it was a head scratcher where someone said, "Oh, if someone's giving your live auction or silent auction, they're transactional givers." And I said, you all are shaking your head back and forth. Okay. And I said I didn't get upset. I'm getting upset right now. But I said, that's not the case at all, as a matter of fact. These are your biggest stakeholders. They just so happen to want to bid on something because it's fun or it's engaging, or it's not transactional at all, as a matter of fact, because they're there. And you know what? They're a part of your community. I thought that was an asinine comment when I heard that. And this reiterates that.
So Sarah, one thing that I don't know if you mentioned it, but this fact that 64% were monthly donors, huge. But the other stat that was bigger as well is that 83% of them also said they'd be annual donors. So you've got the monthlies, but then the annual at 83%, you're like, wow, that's a big amount.
You said community. Now, this has been a buzz term, and I don't mean that disparagingly. I mean, I'm hearing this a lot. We're talking about it a lot, having specific episodes about building a community. Folks donors are craving this kind of interaction, coupled with doing good, coupled with the impact, coupled with the mission. And the organizations that have done a good job of building this community, these events, talk to us about, your experience about that phenomenon, because I think it's definitely something that can't be overstated.
One thing I know Sarah will probably talk to this is when we think community, it's not just the three of us going to an event, but it's making us feel welcome and building inclusivity so that you really truly feel that anyone can go to that event, no matter what generation you are, no matter your abilities, and just creating experiences that community will embrace so that you can bring them together, because they do want to get together. It depends on what it is, right? And one other thing that I'll mention is when we think about the motivators of why people give, some of it is I'm going to sit at the table with Trevor and Sarah and I'm having a good time. I'm going to be motivated to give because I'm also with my friends, with my people that believe in the same things I do or want to support the same mission. And we may go on that trip together or donate at the same time together to rally for a cause. But it's knowing when we look at our giving experience study, there's motivators that we trust in the organization. We believe in the mission and the impact that it has. And so it's those motivators that are getting all of us to rally behind and be part of that community because you trust the community. You trust who you're with. You trust that the nonprofit is putting the funds to what they say they're going to do and how they're going to impact. And so I think that's why people give and give again and give together when they're at an event or just supporting a campaign as part of a community.
Hey, we know how challenging it is if you're putting up a fundraising event to find the greatest auction items that will motivate donors and supporters to bid. Look no further. HGA Fundraising, the most profitable auction items in fundraising. We'll be in over 2,000 events helping nonprofits raise more money all across the nation. The perfect fit for your next live auction, silent auction, online auction, or even if you're using raffle items, look no further than HGA Fundraising. No upfront cost, seamless integration, and the industry benchmark for donor fulfillment. The most profitable auction items in fundraising are at HGA Fundraising. Go to hgafundraising.com to check them out now. Now, back to the episode. Yep. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
And I will touch on the inclusive and welcoming piece, because we specifically asked in like the motivator questions that we do, like what motivates you to give? And 55% of respondents did say it was because the event or the campaign was inclusive, it was welcoming. Mm-hmm. And when we looked at the kind of overall makeup of social donors in general, overwhelmingly younger and more diverse donors. So it's kind of a table stakes thing, like these events have to be welcoming. Yeah. And then aside from that, you mentioned whether it's an auction or not, right? And that's a big thing to highlight. Like you don't just have to have a fundraising event. You can have a cultivation event, right? Yeah. That builds this community and welcomes donors and makes them feel valued. And we also do a study called the Fundraising Outlook, where we talk to nonprofits and get their point of view, that more nonprofits are holding more events. So, well, we didn't necessarily ask, okay, was it a small event? Was it a cultivation event? That's what we're thinking is probably happening, is that people are starting to have these smaller events throughout the year to build that sense of community and have everybody there, no matter their viewpoints or their backgrounds, share this beautiful experience together, no matter what way they lean in any direction on any topic, right? Aside from we're here to support this nonprofit and the good that it's doing in the world.
I love that. Yeah, sharing a meal or an experience or what have you. People are always saying about topics. They're coming at us with, hey, talk about this. And it's like creative fundraising ideas or just creative ideas to engage your top stakeholders, for instance, like a sponsored event or what have you. You know, those are great. They're working. This is rooted in experience. They're working for so many different organizations. And I think thinking outside that traditional box and just getting creative with those kinds of opportunities, massive, helps you build a community. Both of you said something about motivating just a second ago. And from the study, the generosity motivators, the top three, the top was how easy it was to give. And we speak about this all the time. Hey, make it easy for folks to find you. Make it, if you're running a company, make it easy to do business with you. That's just like remove all friction. Well, that applies to giving too. And it might sound like a very, very elementary point, but if you're making it a top priority that it's easy for folks to get involved in your monthly recurring, or easy to give at the event, or, you know what I mean? Easy to register at the event, all these things. I just think that can't, once again, be overstated either. Just the ease of giving, the process itself.
I'll make just a comment. I mean, it's just expected now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, right?
You think about Disney, or you think about, you planning your entire Disney trip on an app, the experiences that you have when you want to key up your groceries and go pull up and pick them up. Everyone's expecting the instantaneous reaction, or I can do it myself, but it has to be super easy, because if it's not easy, you're not going to do it. And I was just at the grocery store last night, and I'm so excited because I'm starting to use my watch now when I tap to pay. Okay. And I get upset when I have to pull my card out now and tap it. That's just like the evolution of my expectation. And I'm not, a generation Gen Z, I'm Gen X, and I'm like, boom, I did it. I'm super proud of myself, but it was easy. I didn't have to pull anything out. So to give, we have to make it that easy for people to say, here's some money,
I totally agree. Donors are consumers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Yeah. Well, Karrie's just like next level with me, because I give the example that like I don't want to get my card out like if I'm at home if it doesn't offer Apple Pay or something, but I've never experienced like the anger of being in a store and having to tap yet. I'm not quite there.
It's super fun. You got to try it.
But I've abandoned a donation form because there was not a digital wallet on it. Yeah. And that's a huge thing that we saw in the study too. there were a lot of overall social donors that said, yes, we want digital wallet options, but especially those younger donors. 50% of Gen Z said that they used a digital wallet to make their last social donation. So if you are not working with a fundraising provider that offers these, like, it's time to seriously rethink that. They expect it. Like Karrie said, it's just part of their lives every day now. I don't want to like highlight just the younger donors either, because we have seen some increases through age groups too. Like originally with digital wallets, there were kind of some low percentages there, but it's steadily gone up. So people are getting
Oh,
used to it
the days of,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's married to their phone. They can figure
Yes, they are.
they figure it out. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, we're talking about giving and different avenues, and we've covered some really awesome topics. Anything to share from the study or anything internally that you can share about the cadence of asking? And what I mean by that is, let's say someone goes to the auction and they give, and you've got a raving fan that you created. 82% of them are going to give annually, 64%, 67, whatever, 64% are going to be open to monthly recurring, which is amazing, low-hanging fruit, amazing opportunity. Let's say after the auction, we're constantly coaching nonprofits to make sure that you have a planned gratitude program in place, and that the first time you reach out to someone that gave at the event, maybe they give it at a large level, they're a stakeholder, that the first time that you pick up the phone, you don't ask them for money again. Or the first time they hear from you with a thank you card, it's not asking them for money. It's literally thanking them. Now, I know that sounds like a little bit more existential, right? But is there anything from the data or anything that you all are working on or have seen that can support that cadence of asking, of engaging, and what have you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, just from personal experience, even
Yeah.
thanking after I have an example, but it's just polite, Trevor. But yes, you do
Yeah.
need to thank people first, and people are not ATMs. We were talking about this earlier today when we were working on a presentation, but it applied to board members. But usually, you're talking about donors. Donors are not your ATMs. They need to be thanked. They need to be stewarded. And that generosity, those thank you calls have been proven in data to boost giving. And the example that I have been a recurring donor for an organization called Best Friends Animal Society for many, many years. And the only reason that I am still a donor is because they gave me a thank you call and did not ask after the first donation I made. Like, I would have forgotten that I made that donation, but one of their co-founders called me, and I have gotten multiple calls in the years after for the exact same thing. It was a $50 donation. It was not a large gift. And I got a call from the co-founder of this massive organization, right? And they keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
Plan
what was a
gratitude.
$50 donation? I don't even know how much I've given them at this point. I say hundreds, but it's probably more than that over 10 years,
Yeah.
So it is important and it does matter.
And just to expand on that, it's such a lovely point. People are always talking about, well, how do I stand out from the organization down the street? And I say, well, you're in the hospitality business. They go, what do you mean? Well, I was like, well, how did you make the people that gave you money feel?
Mm-hmm.
At
Yeah.
the end of the day, I like to say that we're in the hospitality business. It's
Yeah.
thoughtfulness, it's thoughtfulness personified,
Yeah.
right? Is my
I've been,
definition, and then how you made them feel.
yeah, I have a question for you. Just ordered a book that I've seen floating around that you reminded me of, which is Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yeah,
Have you read it?
I've given it away a dozen times in the last year.
Okay. I haven't read it yet. I will
That's
read it
great.
soon.
Great. No, and
Okay.
Will Gadara is a great speaker as well, actually. Yeah. I grew up in a family restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it appealed to me, but I think my dad created a complex in me. To always like open doors and things like that. And I was in trouble if I wasn't thinking about the next steps. But then I realized, I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm in the hospitality space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like it's a little more existential for a nonprofit to hear this, but and they're always saying, how do you differentiate or how do you stand out from the crowd? I say, well, be different. Differentiation is stronger than competition. So when the organization down the street that gets donations from, because you don't own your donors, they're donating to other organizations. You probably unlock that in the study as well. Folks are donating to multiple organizations that they care about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so being different, and that one organization you're talking about that the co-founder called you, that was different because you hadn't had that experience from another organization that you gave to, probably, right? And so that resonated with you. Yeah, so it's stuck with you.
It's also interesting. I'll make a couple comments about that. Is that you get email communication from, an expectation is you would receive something through email, but that phone call just takes it to the extra level, right? Because you're not expecting it. Even if you don't pick it up, it's a voicemail. The direct mail is still happening too. So when you give, whenever I have given, it is a little frustrating when you get back something in the mail the next month to say, can you give more? Versus, hey, here's what your donation did last month, or here's what you were, here's where you were impacting. And I think that gets back to our study about the motivators to give. You want to keep hearing about the impact, and that will automatically make you want to give more because you see what they're doing with the dollars. So when you come back to the cadence of how often are you hearing from that organization, it really depends on what you're raising money for, but you can't inundate the donor because they are giving to other places as well. And if they keep hearing from you every week or every other week or multiple times in a month, it could be overwhelming. So it's, what does that cadence look like? And I'm sure there's studies done about how often you should communicate, but I think there's a healthy balance there of how often, are you going to their event or donor dinner or gala? If you're not, how do you get them there the next year by sprinkling some things on there to entice them to come? And so it's just that constant impact message, so that what your, like, that mission is first versus the giving. And they kind of go hand in hand, because in order to do the mission, you need the money to fund the mission, but it's a healthy balance for sure.
There's a right way to go about it. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. The impact piece, and you were talking about how to stand out as well. I give to American Bird Conservancy, I believe, and like they've got their donors nailed. Like they send out these beautiful magazines with impact in it and all about birds, and I'm always like poring over it to see like how many acres did my donation save this year. And it's great. It's so good. But the standing out, one thing we did ask this year, we added in a new generosity motivator question about innovation, if people were motivated by that. And nearly half of social donors said, yes, I am motivated when an organization shows innovation or adaptability when they're addressing challenges. So that standing out is huge, because I think a big trend for a while was like, this is an attention economy. And that's trickled over into the nonprofit space, but you can't yell to get attention anymore because it's just everybody yelling. So yeah,
agreed. And then also you said something about the bird conservancy, right? Right. So I love ornithology. I love birds. I live in an area where there's like tons of birds of prey and all that, right? Like I'm into that. But does everyone else geek out about that? And it made me think of something, Sarah. It made me think about like that organization is not going to appeal to everyone.
Right. Absolutely not. So people think I'm a dork. No.
And you said me too, right? Like you said attention. Yeah. When you said that, it sparked like, okay, storytelling, sending out the magazine, telling the story, but your story isn't for everyone. Like you said, it's not for everyone. And that's why you need to like, quadruple down on the stakeholders that have given, that care that much, that will geek out on the magazine. And you have to just keep on going over and over and over and lay that foundation, So
absolutely.
It's also a nice reminder to folks. Like we had a lovely conversation with a pod consultant recently too, where he's like, your story is not for everyone. You can't be everything to everyone. Not everyone's going to give. So understanding that, not to be a defeatist, but just like narrowing your focus on really there,
That dilutes your mission if you try to be everything to everyone. So definitely.
Yeah. Yep. So cool. I have a couple questions. I want to be respectful of your time. I have one question I want to ask both of you. Pardon me. Fundraising is hard. Don't make it more difficult by doing what? Either one of you can start.
I mean, I'm just going to tie mine back to relationships quickly, because the first thing that popped into my head is fundraising was hard, but so are relationships. But fundraising is a relationship. So, I mean, just don't neglect your donors. And I think not neglecting those donors that you mentioned, those super loyal ones, because I know people are always saying we have to acquire more donors, we have to acquire more, we have to acquire more. Well, pay attention to who you have, pay attention to those low dollar donors, because they are the ones that make up the majority of giving in the United States when it comes from individuals. They're your solid base. They're going to keep coming back if you treat them right. So that's my long story short.
I love it.
Karrie, what you got?
I think it does boil down to relationships, like you said. But I think that's how organizations grow. So you're cultivating the core, but the core is going to help you grow because they're going to tell more people about it. Yep. And so it's just, fundraising is hard, but when you create momentum around a cause that group is passionate about, they're going to tell more people, and more people, some of them might care and some of them might not, but there is a percentage that will. And that's how you grow that momentum of giving. And, I just, generally speaking, at some events that I go to, and we'll buy a table or we'll have our friends come, and I'm expecting them all to be so passionate like I am in that cause. I'm like, wait a minute, they're not giving. What's going
Yeah.
on? Why wouldn't they give? Well, I invited them. That was a cause I care about. I can't push that cause on them, but maybe one or two people at that table that I invited, they're going to become long-term donors. And so those one or two people still matter. So it's just this relationships, but it's those relationships you create, and then they tell a few more people, and then they tell a few more people, and it continues to grow. But it comes back to the mission. Are they passionate about what you're raising money for?
Yeah. Yep. It's not what you know, it's who you know and how well you know them.
It very much. I try to tell my daughter that sometimes, my college daughter that many times. And it's networking, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the feedback. Thank you so much, ladies. So good. I thought that was really, really great. We're going to link the Giving Experience study in the description and the show notes and all that good stuff. And then, ladies, tell folks, can they find you on LinkedIn, where to go to show you some support, show you some love, and to see the work that you all are doing?
Yeah, you can find OneCause on LinkedIn. You can find me there. Karrie's there too. Feel free to connect. I'm more than happy to connect.
Oh, the puppies are too.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. Usually people can't hear them. I was just hoping you couldn't hear the barking
It's
one
fun.
time.
We're leaving that in. Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, we're leaving that in.
No,
that's fine. My team has to hear it all the time.
It's great. Thank you so much to the both of you for taking the time, and looking forward to seeing you all at the conference, and keep up the good work. Thanks for sharing. I know there's a lot more in that study to unpack, so definitely a nudge to the audience to check that out. And then, show the gals some love and support on LinkedIn and what have you, and give them a follow and a hello and a thank you. If you don't know what to say thank you. So
Thanks.
Really great. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Guys. Appreciate you so much.
You too.